As I've promised you, we are now going to talk about the hotfix in patch 5.1. What did they do, the biggest problem in WildRift, and everything we need to talk about will be discussed during this video, so without any further ado, let's start with the hotfix stuff on Kalista. First off, Kalista has been released and she has been very underwhelming upon release, but there's one thing that we need to understand when we talk about this champion in general. Kalista is not a champion you want to play in solo queue. Kalista is a champion that literally desires to be played in duo queue. Other than this, you'd more likely be better off playing her in a solo lane and even in mid lane. The issue with this champion is she's so very much dependent on this support, similar to Vayne, but the moment you get a good support champion on your team that understands how your champion functions, Kalista becomes so much better. So what did they change? First off, we have a base stat increase. We go from 3 to 3.5 AD per level. Not only this, we also gain 16 HP per level on top. That is quite a nice change and grants us a lot of AD if you consider how much you'll be getting. So from 1 to 15, that's a whopping amount of extra AD and HP you gain for literally free. However, it doesn't really end here, and you best believe Riot is very interesting when they come around with their buffs or hotfixes. For the first ability, we have a damage increase by 10 on the first rank, and then it's 15 on the second rank, 20 on the third rank, and 25 on the highest rank. Now, we need to put this into context when we look at the third ability. The initial damage of the third ability was literally doubled to 30, plus a 5 increased scaling. So, we gain 15 flat damage on our third ability for just putting in one singular point. Not only this, but also the scaling of any additional spear and damage is getting increased massively. So instead of 7 per additional spear, it's now 10, and the scaling starts instead of 26 at 30. So on the highest level, you have a 32% scaling, a 42% scaling. But here comes the kicker. You just have to understand how many additional spears you have to put in to basically deal the same amount of damage that your Pierce now does. If this spell deals 65 bonus damage for just 1 point, how much extra do you need in terms of hits on your third ability to arrive at a similar level? So can't you just max your first ability first, and then afterwards max your second ability? Now let me put that in the middle. You max your first ability first because it grants you the highest damage, and then after this you max the third ability. And you obviously put 1 point into the second ability because the scaling is only plus 1% per every level and it's a 10-second cooldown, so it doesn't really matter too much. But what we are seeing here is that Kalista is not a DPS champion, but more of a, let me put it this way, burst champion, which is kind of interesting, because think about this, okay? Mages are so powerful because they are so far out of range of everything and they're just throwing spells every once in a while, and the moment they hit, the fight is immediately over. So what about a champion that mimics the same kind of playstyle but on the AD carry position, which in this case is going to be AD Kalista with, well, lethality. There's going to be a video about lethality Kalista. I also saw a Chinese video already showcasing this, where you go mana immune, utilize sudden impact, and you must Ghostblade for exactly this purpose. You want your first ability to deal as much damage as possible and burst at least one target down as soon as possible. Because think about how a fight turns out to be on Kalista. You use your ult, you draw somebody in, you throw them out, you knock somebody up, you hit them with your first ability, and then maybe one alt attack to proc the second ability, and then proc the third ability and giga burst the target. You're literally kind of burst champion. So it's a very interesting approach to playing this champion compared to the on-hit dream, because to make the on-hit dream work, you need a lot of tankiness as well as certain champions not to be on the enemy team, because it's very difficult for you to even reach this point, because you're a very close-ranged carry, making it very difficult for you to even achieve anything. Okay, now let's move over to the biggest problem of this patch, because this is quite literally the biggest cap in history of WildRift. First off, we have Horizon Focus. Horizon Focus has been doing too much damage, so we're adjusting the numbers slightly. Hypershot, damaging an enemy champion with an ability from 600 units away, reveals them for 6 seconds, and increases damage dealt to them by 12 to now 9%. So So, can any one of you in the comments tell me, how fast did you die to a mage, and how much did they overkill you with? Do you truly believe that a 3% nerf on this item makes the item worse than any counterpart in the game? Because, now let's move over to the next item, because this will be an entire point for itself. Light Infinity Orb. Infinity Orb's price isn't accurately reflecting the amount of value offered, so we have adjusted it as well. The base stats, well, the cost is now 3,400, which is, well, it's a death cap, instead of 3,200. So, what is the problem with this? Can you quickly tell me? Let me open up my notepad. Can you quickly tell me the typical itemization for a mage in modern WildRift? Luden's Echo, Infinity Orb, Rabadon, Horizon Focus, X. So please, in the comments, unless you play a specific champion like, for example, Aurelion Sol, why would you build anything else outside of these 4 items every single game? One point could be, well, I want to have more defenses, so I go Crown of the Shattered Queen. Okay, so you go Crown of the Shattered Queen, so you live longer. Cool. But what stops you? What is the alternative to this item build? What other items can you go? And we even have situations in which in jungle we go for Infinity Orb first. And the same still applies. The only variation here is, for example, Diana, which goes Infinity Orb, Lichbane, Rabadon, something like this. And then what? Where is the variation? Why were the items buffed in this way? It doesn't really make any sense, does it? Because the items that were buffed or quote-unquote turned into light or ruined items were already the items you used the most, so you don't really have a choice but building them. But on one hand, you have an item that increases your damage even more with Infinity Orb. On the other hand, you have an item that decreases your damage also even more, but you lose HP. And then you have another item which then increases your damage even more. So if there's one item that you, well, thought of in the past, it was Liandry's Torment. Liandry's Torment in the past was one of the most broken items in the game. It granted you a damage over time effect that doubled if the enemy was slowed. It granted you a Madness buff which increased your damage up to 10%. And it granted you a lot of stats you really wanted, so everyone rushed this item. So nowadays we live in a world where we want to burst everyone instantly and we one-shot everyone anyway. So most of the cookie cutter builds look like you have this Awakened Soul Sealer here. So we have these 5 items locked in every single game, and the only thing we basically change is, hey, what is our champion? What is the purpose of our champion? Do we need a crown or do we need a Liandry's Torment? Because on full items, Liandry's Torment is very powerful, especially if the enemy team has high HP bars. But yeah, what is the purpose here? Why are we changing these items? Why are we changing here these items when you still get one shot anyway? Because now we move over to the next problem. The damage creep in WildRift, and this is only one part of the issue with the damage creep in WildRift. Because you also have boots. Boots of Mana. They grant you AP, they grant you Pen, they grant you Mana Regen. I saw a comment which is very interesting, I believe. That this comment was very good, I think. Talked about Mana Regen on these boots. Why isn't the Mana Regen on Mana Flow Band? Why are these boots so overtuned that they're literally an item for the price of half an item? It doesn't make sense. And now we move over to the next issue here. So, how do you survive mages? First off, you have flat pen on the boots. Then you have percentage pen on every single item that's listed above. And you have 2 of them with 15 flat pen. And then you have the boots. Then you look at this number of percentage pen and flat pen and ask yourself, how much magic resist do people actually have in this game? You look at carries. Carries usually start with, I think, 30 magic resist. And then you get a little bit higher, right? You just get a tiny bit higher, I think up to like 50 at best. So no carry usually has far more than 50 magic resist by default. Carry, keep that in mind. So what happens any mage that finds a carry always deals literally true damage to them. You can also include sudden impact, like depending on the champion you're playing. You always deal true damage because the enemy is usually not capable of itemizing into you because there are no items available that will save them. Because the next issue comes then into play. Magic resist by itself will not save them, because they lack the HP, so they need items that provide them with HP and magic resist, and then they have to specifically build against you, and you can even be a support champion. There's so much damage in the game, a support looks with simple boots one-shots you. And the next thing that comes to mind is the hilarious champion differential. There's an assortment of champions in WildRift that deals too much damage, is too easy to play, and just goes forward. Then there's a bunch of champions that literally do nothing. So if you look in the jungle department, you have champions like Hecarim, Talon, Lee Sin, and then you have Lilia. How? You have champions like Singed. You have a bunch of champions that are so broken that they're picked every single game and they're the only way to reliably win because they're horrendously overtuned, because even my mother could pick Ziggs in the dragon lane, throw in some bombs, sit back, do nothing, and still be 50 times more useful than a rank 180 carry. How is this supposed to be okay? I don't understand what's the purpose of this. We are lowering durability of champions, we're giving more damage, we are literally changing item paths, and well, changing item paths. We are changing items that are the most common items anyway. It's not like Infinity Op and Rabadons weren't built. You can make an argument that Horizon wasn't built because it was a niche item. Yes, but let's move over to the biggest joke of WildRift's problem. If there's one item in the jungle department that is the most commonly built item in the jungle, which one is it? Yumu's Ghostblade. Why are we giving Yumu's Ghostblade more damage? Why? Why are we giving this 4 to 10 extra pen when it already has 15, and you mostly because you play jungle, and if you buy Yumu's, you most likely have sudden impact. So one item upon purchase grants you 30 free armor pen. Now again, if you take a look at the armor values of a carry champion, you'll be quite surprised how squishy they are. And since Yumu's is a snowball item, what's gonna happen? You're gonna one-shot everyone. How unexpected. And what's the deal with all of this? Why are we doing this? Why are we putting more damage into the game, lowering the durability, and making it seem like it's fun and enjoyable? Sure, you have fun a few times one-shotting somebody, you're like, what? I just one-shot that guy. And like, after the 15th time, it's like, yeah, I one-shot that guy. And then, once you start being on the receiving end because you started winning too much and your stats are too high, you get put into games where you literally can't carry. And it's all just a flip, and a flip, and a flip, and you just have to play more because WildRift rewards you for playing more than actually playing good. Yeah, sure, you can reach Sovereign in 300 games, you can exploit it with 120 games, you can play really well and also hit it with 500 games, or you can play like an absolute demon and play 1,000 games, 1,500 games, depending on how much time you have, and you can reach it anyway. But you are playing completely different games. And it's just sad to see that we are not really tackling anything that needs to be tackled to make this game what it's supposed to be. A strategic, competitive game. However, it's nothing like this, not even remotely close to this. It is literally a children's mobile game, running at each other, fist fighting, and hoping it works out. I really hope that eventually this will change again, that there'll be a durability buff, that there'll be changes, systematic changes, and that more people come to play this game to actually make a legendary queue a real thing, because solo queue is literally doomed. Solo queue has no integrity. If you play on an old account, you play the same games you play in Sovereign, in Emerald. There's no difference. And if you as a player that has played the game for a long time want to have fun again, well, I'm sorry to tell you, you probably have to create a new account. And then you have to intentionally just not play well. and just, you know, just cruise through, just play for fun. But the main point of this one is, why are we buffing damage? Why are we removing durability? And what are you guys thinking about this? I think it's a terrible choice. I think it's literally ruining the game for a big portion of players. But I suppose the bigger portion of players likes this change, or they want to attract the audience of other games which are like this. But for me personally, I really heavily dislike this. And please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to see it because this is like a controversial thing I want to talk about. I want to engage with you in the community to just see what you guys are thinking, how upset you are, and what you want to do if this one isn't like fixable. Do you play other game modes? Do you play other games? Like, what is your plan? And as per usual, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And one good thing, by the way, we got new codes from Riot to give away. So in the new tier list videos, we will have 2 tier list videos, one of the Chinese server and one that is basically my thoughts and our thoughts. We will have skin codes again. So make sure to watch the videos once they drop and look for the secret code. Maybe we'll get something working that will give people the ability to also get a code if they're not like early watchers, like comment based. But yeah, we'll check that one out once it goes live. And up until then, have some fun. Don't get one shot too many times. It will happen anyway. Pick mages. Oh wait, by the way, if you want to gain LP, I already posted this on Twitter. Play mages. Play Mage like 80 carries. Mage like 80 carries are Corki, they are Varus, like these kind of champions. Play assassins in jungle. Like, you know all these champions, like Eve, Talon, Lee, Hecarim isn't, well, I mean, Hecarim is an assassin, but you know the idea. Kha'Zix is probably the weakest out of all of these. Kindred, well, she's an 80 carry, but she's also an assassin, let's be honest. And yeah, Bruises. But yeah, play mages, they're broken, enjoy your time, and then play all the other champions. Anyways, see you soon for more RiftGuides content, and catch you later.